divisions and a total of 28 regions comprise the Ohio High School Athletic Association football playoffs. And this week, each of those 28 regions will crown a champion and send one of their teams on to the state semifinals. We welcome you to this week's edition of the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show. I'm Marty Bannister, and thank you for joining us over the next 30 minutes as we set the scene across Ohio for this week's regional championship playoff games. After the higher-seeded teams hosted the first 3 weeks of the playoffs, neutral sites will be used this week for the regional championships and next week for the state semifinals. The 14 schools that win state semifinal games will advance to the ultimate neutral site, Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton. Beside the stadium is the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and this week we took a road trip to check out all that is new at the Hall of Fame. But before we do that, let's step aside for these messages from the Ohio High School Athletic Association. When we come back, we'll go inside the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This is the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show.
Welcome to the OHSAA.
Every day we work to
take the regulations on these pages
and to apply them to real-life situations.
To serve our member schools.
And our officials.
And to run the best state tournaments in the country.
It's our mission.
To serve our member schools.
And enrich interscholastic opportunities for students.
Welcome.
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 Welcome to the OHSAA.
Welcome back to the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show. I'm Marty Bannister. As we prepare for the state finals that will take place at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, many fans may have a chance to visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame for the first time. We visited the Hall of Fame to show you some of the wonderful attractions you could see and to get a preview of what it takes to put on the OHSAA state finals.
Ryan?
Yeah, hey, Ryan Kavanaugh, Spectrum Sports.
Rich DeRozier, Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Rich, thanks so much for having me out.
You are welcome. You're always welcome here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, where every day we want to tell the best stories about football.
Well, I love that, and I love football. And speaking of that, we're about 2 weeks out from the high school state championships that will be played next door, Tom Benson Hall of Fame. And I know a big part of that experience for the kids and the teams, the players, the coaches, is coming and visiting the one and only Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Well, let's take a quick tour and you can see what the kids are going to see.
Love to do that. Wow, Rich, what an impressive entrance to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Our lobby gets to tell the story of why the Pro Football Hall of Fame is in Canton, Ohio, and it's also our opportunity to celebrate our newest enshrinees. This year, the class of 2025 was a 4-person class, and their memorabilia is here to help tell their story.
Speaking of memorabilia, I noticed a local guy, at least college-wise, is Antonio Gates. And something that stood out to me when I saw it is the Kent State basketball shirt, which is such a unique part of Antonio's story. Who decides what goes into each player's display case?
They do. And it's one of the reasons I like this exhibit so much, is it gives them an opportunity to help us tell their story. What was important to them in their development, in their growth, in their journey. Not only in football, but in their lives. And certainly for Antonio, it was that Elite 8 Kent State University basketball team, and him posting up opposing players on the basketball court translated to him posting up people on the pro football field with the Chargers.
Now, I know we're here for high school championship state weekend, and you have been a fan of Ohio high school football for a really long time, not to age us here,
yeah,
but since you were 8 years old. Who was the most impressive high school football player you had a chance to see play?
Counting as a youth, and then as a sports writer, and then as somebody who has been in this job, when I think of that question, I got to go straight to Charles Woodson. Fremont Ross High School nearly carried that team on his shoulders to the state championship. They ended up losing to Massillon High School, Massillon Washington High School, which is still alive this year, to potentially get their second state championship.
Wow. Well, I know he has a special place in this building, and I think we're going to take a look at that here.
Let's go.
I've noticed throughout the building you have a lot of unique displays with some one-of-a-kind type memorabilia. Is that actually Charles Woodson's high school football helmet?
It is, and a lot of these guys realize that their journey might have begun in Pee Wee football, but really where it starts to take off is in high school. That's where they start to make their mark, or where coaches and recruiters start to notice them. And so in this case in particular, you've got Charles Woodson's helmet, you've got Darrell Revis's high school helmet from Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, you've got Jared Allen's high school jersey from the school he attended in California. We got a sweater signed by Don Shula for Painesville Harvey. I mean, so many great stories trace themselves back to those high school years.
You know, Rich, one of the things I appreciate the most about the high school experience playing football is life lessons and what the game teaches you. And I know that there's a few pillars for the Pro Football Hall of Fame that go along with that theme that you guys are promoting here.
No question. Third pillar of our mission statement, promote the values of the game. And we think high school football, when it's played the right way and coached the right way, can teach lessons that are going to extend beyond their high school career, really, for the rest of their lives. The perseverance it takes, the dedication it takes, the trust in your teammates that builds in that locker room. Right now, there's a video playing on the screen. The title of the video is called The Huddle. And we use the huddle as a metaphor all the time of one of the greatest things about the game of football is 11 people coming together, deciding what they're going to do, and then going out and executing that job. And if they do it right, they succeed. And if they don't, they come back and they re-huddle and they do it again. And you're going to get knocked down on every play, but you get back up and you just keep trying and trying and trying. And ultimately, the teams that succeed are the ones that just never get up. You get knocked down 99 times, you get up 99 times.
You know, there's a high school coach in the Cleveland area who just retired, Chuck Kyle.
Yeah.
And he once told me that the 120 by 53 1/3 football field is the greatest classroom for young men. And what I think is interesting about being in these hallowed halls is that those lessons in that classroom continues on even for people playing at the highest level.
And for us, it doesn't have to be a high school football player or any sport athlete either. So we get a lot of high schools that come through on tours, and they might be elementary school age, middle school age, high school age. And there's some message around character and around the game that we can translate and fit to each one of them. So when they leave here, whether or not they're football fans, whether or not they're NFL football fans, they're taking those lessons with them, and hopefully for the rest of their lives.
Well, we've talked about the high school players and we've talked about the pro players. Why don't we take a look at the pinnacle, the apex of the professional football players?
That sounds good. Let's go see some bronze busts.
Well, Rich, you mentioned we were going to see some bronze busts, the famous Hall of Fame busts. And I have to tell you, first impressions of walking in this room, it is breathtaking. I've got the goosebumps going.
Well, there's no sign when we first came into the room that said, quiet, please. You're not in a library. But people treat it like that. The light's a little down, the sound's a little down, and people just stop, pause, maybe find one of their favorite players or somebody that they, know a little bit about and want to learn a little bit more. But there's so many stories in this room.
And there's a lot of players from Ohio. And speaking of stories, Marion Motley, inducted in 1968, is one of those guys.
No question. Great fullback with the Cleveland Browns. High school football at Canton-McKinley, literally in the backyard of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Marion was a standout at McKinley High School, lost 3 games in his high school career. Massillon. Coach of those teams, Paul Brown. Stretch it out now, we're in the mid-1940s, and Paul Brown is coaching the new Cleveland Browns in the All-America Football Conference, and he asks Marion to play on the Browns. That's how much respect Paul had for Marion, but it also meant breaking the color barrier. There had not been an African American in pro football from 1933 to 1946, so Marion Motley was a trailblazer in reintegrating the sport of pro football.
That's a tremendous story. And if only these busts could talk and tell their own story, I could imagine that's a lifetime worth of great tales.
Well, John Madden in his enshrinement speech said that when the last janitor leaves the building and all the lights go out, the busts talk to each other. So no one's been able to authenticate that, But you're right, the stories that each of these busts could tell, or that the coaches could tell about them. And I know one of the things you and I talked about earlier, 382 busts in this room, about 330 of them are players. And I think right down the line, their coaches all said, yeah, there's something special about them athletically, but they were also the hardest worker on their team. And that's a message that I think the current kids can take away no matter what era it is. If you work hard and keep persevering, you can have success. And then those 14 teams that are coming here in a couple of weeks to celebrate that opportunity to win a state championship, that's the message that can be driven home. These guys didn't fall out of bed great. Some of them did lead their teams in high school to state championships. Most of them didn't. That success came later just by persevering and persevering. Here's another Ohio guy, Len Dawson from nearby Alliance. Drafted by the Browns, bust. Goes to the Steelers, bust. Out of football basically until the AFL, and Hank Stram says, Lenny, I think you can be our quarterback. And he's 6 years into a pro career, goes to the Chiefs. And it was only within the last year and a half that Patrick Mahomes surpassed the records that Len Dawson set. Those are the kinds of stories that we're able to tell kids of any era. Keep at it, keep at it, keep at it, because success might just be around the corner.
That's tremendous.
Ryan, before you leave, let's spend just a couple minutes here in what we call the Pro Football Today Gallery, because this is where the kids are going to recognize names that they know. They're going to see memorabilia from somebody like Patrick Mahomes, Christian McCaffrey. The newest acquisition that we have is a jersey from Cam Little, who just kicked a 70-yard field goal. Think we'll see a 70-yard field goal in the high school championships here in a couple
I
weeks?
don't know about that, but maybe it's coming.
It's coming. Hey, listen, when I played high school football, we didn't even try extra points. We'd go for 2 every time. We didn't have a kicker. And now to see what kids at the high school level can do, maybe somebody wins a game with a 40 or 50-yard field goal here in a couple weeks.
Well, I know that I can see why all the kids like it. This is the modern era type thing. How far are we from getting a mechanical Justin Jefferson doing the gritty? We're going to work on it, right?
Well done. Well done. That would definitely bring fans.
Yeah. Well, Rich, speaking of fans, I'm a big fan of yours and this Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's been a few years since I've been here, and I can't believe the improvements. I understand why the players and coaches like to make this a destination when they play in the state championships. And speaking of that, we're a couple weeks out. We'll be next door at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. I look forward to seeing you there.
I'll be there.
And thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing.
Thank you for having the opportunity to get here.
We would like to thank Rich DeRosiers for his time this week to show us around the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now let's allow our local stations to share a few messages from their local sponsors. When we come back, we'll hear from broadcasters around Ohio. This is the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show.
At the Ohio High School Athletic Association, our student athletes are going pro at being
coachable,
a good student,
responsible,
dependable,
respectful.
I'm going pro at being
a good student, a good student,
a good teammate,
responsible.
I'm going pro at being
coachable,
a good student,
dependable, a good teammate,
representing my school.
I'm going pro at being
a good student,
a good student,
responsible.
Let's go pro at respecting the game.
Respect 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 the game.
Welcome back to the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show. Now it's time to break down the regional finals with reports and broadcasters around Ohio. Let's start out first of all in the western part of the state of Ohio, and checking in from Lima's WOSN is Jen Beck.
Here in Northwest Ohio, there's an athletic conference called the Midwest Athletic Conference, also known as the MAC. The top 4 teams in that conference are still alive as we move into the regional finals. Here's a look at what happened last week and what we can look forward to this week. Starting in Division 7, Region 28, garnering their 76th win in a row, Marion Local had no trouble defeating 12-seed Fort Recovery. On the other side of the region, St. Henry defeated 11-seed Cedarville, setting up a rematch between the top 2 teams in the MAC Conference. St. Henry comes into this game with only 1 loss, and it's to Marion Local. They'll play this Friday in Wapakoneta. Also in D7, Region 26, number 3 seed Lipsick will take on 4 seed Columbus Grove. Lipsick defeated Pandora Gilboa last week for the 2nd time this year, and Grove, also 2nd time this season, outlasted Lima Central Catholic. Lipsick and Columbus Grove will square off at Lima Shawnee. Next, Division 6, which takes us to our other MAC Conference rematch. 5 seed Coldwater ended Tri-Village's season last week, and Anna did the same to Northeastern. Back in the regular season, Anna defeated Coldwater by 1 touchdown. The rematch between these two will take place Friday in Piqua. Division 6, Region 22, Hopewell Loudon defeated Archbold 30-14 last Friday, and Cary was over Paulding 41-6. It will be a rematch for these two teams. Hopewell Loudon and Cary played in the regular season way back in August. This Friday, they'll meet up in Findlay. Division 5, Region 20 also has a rematch. Indian Lake beat Marymount Friday to set up a rematch with Richwood North Union. When these two teams met in September, Indian Lake won by just 3 points. This weekend, they'll meet up again in Marysville. Also in D5, Region 18, number 1 seed Liberty Center against 3 seed Genoa area. They'll be in Fostoria. And in Division 3, 6 seed Toledo Central Catholic takes on 5 seed Rocky River. That game is this Friday in Clyde. That's a look at Northwest Ohio. I'm Jennifer Beck for WOSN.
Now to the eastern part of the state from Marietta's WMOA. Here's Aaron Cassidy.
Thanks, Marty. Starting in Division 3, Region 11, 2 teams that are very familiar with each other. In fact, a rematch of last year's regional final here in this region. It'll be Bishop Watterson taking on Steubenville. Steubenville with an impressive victory last week in the final moments as they get a field goal to beat Licking Valley 17-14. This game will be played at White Field in Newark. Another regional championship rematch is in Division 4, Region 15. New Lexington and their 43 points per game, allowing just 7 defensively, take on a very good Indian Valley team. Of course, they have one of the state's top rushers and Grady Kenzie. Kenzie, of course, coming into the game as one of the top backs in the state of Ohio. Also set a record in this playoffs with career rushing touchdowns in the state. He now has 128 in his career. That game will be a really fun one in Coshocton. And then finally in Division 5, Region 19, Wheelersburg in Southeast Ohio. They've run through everyone in the playoffs. They will play a very good Nelsonville York team, though, who got a victory on Friday night 10-7 over Columbus Academy. That game will be played at Hamilton Township's Alumni Stadium. Reporting for the south and eastern part of the state for the OHSAA radio network from WMOA and WJAW in Marietta, I'm Aaron Cassidy.
Now let's check in on the Cincinnati area from WCPO TV. Here's Mike Dyer.
The road to Canton continues for 5 Greater Cincinnati teams this week in the regional finals. Elder is one of those teams, taking on St. Xavier in the 110th meeting of the GCL South rivals in a Division I Region 4 final Friday night at Mason. Elder defeated Princeton in a thrilling 32-30 game in the regional semifinal here at the pit last week. It came from behind 23-point deficit erased there in that second half. And it'll be Elder coach Doug Ramsey against St. Xavier coach Steve Specht. 431 victories combined between the two coaches. Also Division I Region 2, Middletown making its first regional final appearance since the 1980s. Going to take on Huber Heights Wayne at 7 o'clock Friday night. Division 2 at Lakota West, regional final. Anderson, undefeated, 2024 state runner-up, taken on Trotwood Madison. It is the 4th consecutive regional final appearance for the Raptors. Division 4, Region 16, undefeated Indian Hill going to take on Germantown Valley View. Indian Hill has a 12-0 record for the first time in program history. For the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show, I'm WCPO 9 sports reporter Mike Dyer.
And to round things out, we go to Central Ohio from 97.1 The Fan in Columbus. We visit with Ryan Baker.
Thank you, Marty. 8 teams from the Columbus, Central Ohio area will play for regional titles this Friday. 2 of them will be playing each other. That happens in Division I, Region 3, where the top 2 seeds will square off. Undefeated Olentangy Orange takes on 11-1 Pickerington Central at historic Cruz Stadium. Orange intercepted a pass on the final drive last week to beat Olentangy Liberty for the second time this year, 21-17. Central came from behind to knock off Upper Arlington 17-16. We have a big rematch in Division II, Region 7, as the 1-seed Big Walnut takes on the 3 Massillon at Sulzberger Stadium in Zanesville. The Golden Eagles beat the Tigers 14-7 last year to win that region. In Division 3, both Waterson and London look to make it back-to-back regional titles. In Region 11, Waterson has cruised into the title game, outscoring their playoff opponents 104-6. They play Steubenville at Newark's White Field on Friday. London has ground out 2 close playoff wins so far, and they'll be tested again when they take on undefeated Tippecanoe out in Fairborn. It should be a fun matchup in Division 6, Region 23, as 3rd-seeded West Jefferson faces 5th-seeded Colonel Crawford. That one's at Marengo Highland. And 2 of the highest-rated seeds remaining in the state are in the area. In Division 5, Region 20, 8th-seeded North Union takes on the 2-seed Indian Lake at Marysville's Impact Stadium. Then in Division 7, Region 27, Danville is the 11th seed. They'll battle the 1-seed Hillsdale at Ridgewood. For high school football overtime on 97.1 The Fan in Columbus, I'm Ryan Baker.
That'll do it for a look at this week's third-round playoff games. Let's step aside for these messages from the OHSAA, and when we come back, we'll wrap up this edition of the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show.
Sportsmanship. Sportsmanship.
Sportsmanship is all of our responsibility.
Sportsmanship is more than a pregame announcement.
Sportsmanship is more than just shaking hands at the end of a game.
It takes all of us. We need everyone in the stands to show respect. Respect the athletes.
Respect the coaches.
And please respect the officials.
It takes all of us.
We want this to be an event that we are all proud of.
Respect the game.
Respect the game.
Respect the game.
Respect the game.
Before we wrap up this week's show, a reminder that statewide playoff brackets are available on the OHSAA website at OHSAA.org, along with the football playoff histories of every school in Ohio. Looking ahead to the state championships, all session tickets are on sale at OHSAA.org/tickets. That includes a special ticket package with indoor access in the Stadium Club, as well as a youth football team ticket package. On Spectrum News 1, the official television partner of the OHSAA, 4 games will be televised. In Northeast Ohio, Spectrum has Menor versus Lakewood St. Edward. In Central Ohio, you'll see Pickering and Central take on Olentangy Orange. In the Dayton area and in Northwest Ohio, you'll see Huber Heights Wayne facing Middletown. And in Cincinnati, St. Xavier takes on Cincinnati Elder. All those games will be broadcast live on Spectrum News 1. And as a bonus, on Channel 314, Massillon, Washington takes on Sunbury Big Walnut. In addition to those 5 TV games, 17 more will be streamed online at OHSAA.tv and the NFHS network. Check OHSAA.org for more details. In our next playoff preview show, we'll go inside the state semifinal pairings and see how the OHSAA determines how those state semifinal pairings are set. We thank you for being with us for this week's edition of the OHSAA Football Playoff Preview Show. This episode has been produced by Tim Street and Adam Dell. On behalf of the Ohio High School Athletic Association, I'm Marty Bannister. We'll see you next week.